Magna, Utah was once an important source of labor for the Kennecott copper mine. Before 1980, Magna had a lot of jobs, tough jobs, union jobs, and they paid well. But those glory days are gone, and today few residents are employed by a mining company that long ago automated and mechanized most of its workforce into oblivion. Magna's Main Street contends with a checkerboard of old commercial buildings that are either vacant or struggling. What is known locally as Magna Main may not be a photograph of commercial vitality, but it does provide photographic opportunities of another kind. It has certain assets of antiquated charm, like a turn-of-the-century burlesque theater, saloons unchanged since miners competed for an empty stool, and the faded art of advertisements decorating the walls of dilapidated buildings. This is not the place you'd go for a bargain on what's trendy and popular, but it is a target-rich environment for photography, and on one particular evening I was there for just that reason, trying to make something appealing out of an old mural that advertised the benefits of Miller's orange soda. It was at the end of the day, and the sun was on the wrong side of the building. The mural was in shadow, so I stood there searching for the best exposure, or a perspective that might compensate for the problems I faced. This led to exasperation and scores of unsatisfactory photographs. Finally, after a long siege and frustration, I noticed a street person watching me bob and weave in a contest with a mural advertising soda pop. She was amused, thin, and middle-aged with an outfit of blue and black. Her appearance was worn and frayed beyond her years, but her face was not hardened or made cynical by life. Her outfit would have benefited from the laundry and an iron, but she wore it in a haphazard way that communicated an absence of care or concern. We stood there opposite each other for a few moments. Since she had stopped to watch what I was doing, and then had continued to watch me for some time, I expected she might offer some explanation for her attention. Perhaps she might have a question, or maybe she was about to offer encouragement. But neither proved to be the case. She was comfortable with her role as a passive observer, and felt no need to explain herself. I began to realize that, in fact, I was on her turf. From her point of view, if either of us needed to explain themselves, it was me. So each of us arrived at this moment with a different set of expectations. She was happy to have me as a diversion, a source of entertainment, while I searched for a way to normalize our situation and end what I experienced as awkwardness. She seemed to relish the dilemma and my lack of balance. To her, this awkwardness was a found treasure, another entertaining facet of an odd and unexpected situation. Finally, she ended the stalemate. Her face suddenly broke into a broad and almost silly grin, and she made an unanticipated offer. "Would you like to take some pictures of me?" she asked. There was a plaintive, almost abject quality to her question that made it seem less like an offer and more like an appeal, perhaps even a supplication. "Sure," I said. "I'd love to take some pictures of you." She responded by launching into a series of impromptu expressions that were, at first, humorous and slapstick. Her grin was impossibly broad, and she seemed totally unself-conscious about those teeth of hers that were missing. She welcomed the opportunity for attention with a juvenile enthusiasm, and her expressions rapidly evolved from comical to demure to almost manic. But finally, somewhere in that long series of poses, she arrived at a place that was no longer funny or light-hearted. Her expression became freighted with pain, loneliness, and estrangement. Then ultimately, a resignation so complete and painful that it belonged on a crucifix. Ultimately, and almost instantly, her smile returned, and she walked away without comment or further explanation. I stood there for a long while, perplexed and trying to process what I had just witnessed. Finally, I realized I was not there to celebrate the appeal of faded commercial art, but to celebrate faded art of another kind. I was there to understand a truth set in more human terms, the truth that it's never in the new or the flawless that profound beauty is found, but rather in the worn, the damaged, and even in the abandoned. No museum ever graces its walls with a subject that is untouched by the vicissitudes of time. All of us prefer a variegated landscape for which erosion is a necessary part of its appeal. The new and the pristine can be beautiful. It's easy to appreciate, even admire, an ideal of beauty that is transcendent and perfect. But what generates a more fundamental human empathy is anything or anyone who has endured hardship over time and then survived to show the scars.